People are going to start feeling it in their pocketbook.
We're more than a week into the government shutdown, and it's impacting people across the state. How federal workers are dealing with the fallout. Plus,
you'll have driver's licenses that were improperly issued, may have to be recalled. It just causes more confusion.
The battle over gender markers is making a comeback, while the Attorney General is urging lawmakers to change the law before next year.
And the ongoing fight over controversial abortion laws in Kansas heads to court. What both sides are saying this morning. And we start this morning with the government shutdown. Thousands of people in Kansas now feeling the impact. You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung.
And I'm Rob Hughes. Glad you're here as the shutdown continues. The White House is suggesting that many federal employees might not get back pay for the time that they were not working during the shutdown. Kirsten Stokes spoke with workers in Kansas City, a nearby hub for several federal agencies.
We have no skin in this game. Why are we having to pay the cost for it?
As day 7 of the government shutdown concludes, not all federal workers are furloughed, but for those that are, they have to stay at home, unsure of what comes next. Working for you, we followed up with Jefferson Suchman, president of the AFGE Local 1748, right here in Kansas City, Missouri. Suchman is currently furloughed, changing his schedule of caring for his daughter and family.
My routine is to get in my car and go to work. And drop Sadie off at daycare on the way. That's my routine, and that's been taken from me.
Take a look at this memo circulating in the White House today. The Office of Management and Budget made a draft memo within the White House outlining guidance for federal workers during the shutdown. While details are still limited, the memo provides a legal opinion on appropriations for back pay and who is in charge of that. Ultimately, in the opinion, Congress would have to be responsible. Suchman shares the number of DOL employees laid off right away.
9,000 got sent home right away. And to deny those people money for something that has nothing to do with them, especially when last time things got so out of hand that they passed a law to make sure that that never happened.
Suchman is referring to the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019. Local federal employees are feeling the strain. With bills still due and no official back pay yet confirmed, the shutdown is having a tangible impact on everyday life in Kansas City and across the country. Suchman says the effects of this shutdown could really be felt by the end of the week.
People are going to start feeling it in their pocketbook this Friday, because this Friday I'm going to get 3/4 of a paycheck, and then that's it.
As lawmakers continue negotiations in Washington, Suchman and others in the federal workforce are left in limbo, staying home without pay or working without pay, waiting for the next move.
Some federal services are also being impacted by the shutdown.
And we did reach out to the Kansas Department of Veterans Services. They are now confirming no state services are being impacted by the shutdown. This means that state veteran homes, cemeteries, and service representatives are all available and fully operational, but some other federal services are closed until the shutdown ends. This includes transition assistance and career counseling.
Also, certain hotlines will be unavailable. This includes the Education Benefits Assistance Hotline. Now, the Office of Veteran Affairs tells us that they've been getting calls from people who are concerned, and they say they're committed to supporting veterans during this difficult time.
Out at our field offices, our veteran service representatives have fielded calls. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm pretty proud. I think both of us are pretty proud of all that our team has done, particularly in that veteran service arena, in terms of quote unquote stepping up to take care of veterans throughout the state.
The government spending bill that would end the shutdown is still being discussed in the U.S. Senate. For more details on which veteran services will be impacted by the shutdown, just visit our website at ksnt.com.
Meanwhile, lawmakers here in Kansas are trying to spread the message of bipartisanship. One Democrat and one Republican came together to show Kansas voters and voters nationwide how to solve problems despite political differences.
The event took place at the University of Kansas campus. Kansas Representative Brandon Woodard and Representative Laura Williams were the main speakers. While they represent different political parties, they spoke about the success they've had with policymaking, compromising, and working together in the Kansas legislature. Their message is that politicians everywhere should try to do the same.
I do think events like these are really important right now, particularly in the backdrop of the federal government shutdown. I think we're showing people that bipartisanship can actually happen, and that being focused on solving major public policy problems versus being antagonistic towards each other just because they have an R or a D in front of their name can actually still happen in today's world.
All right, we're back now with John Hanna, State House reporter for the Associated Press. And John, let's talk about just how impactful this shutdown has been. It seems to be far-reaching. We even have President Trump threatening to withhold back pay for some of these federal workers that have been laid off. So how does that change some of the political dynamics when it comes to this shutdown compared to past ones? And could we see Republicans siding with the president on this or trying to distance themselves?
I don't get any sense right now that the Republicans are going to distance themselves from the president. The president is the most important figure in the Republican Party right now. He's pretty much directing everything that goes on with the Republican Congress. So I don't see them distancing themselves. Certainly, there's no buzz on that. Yeah, this could hurt federal workers who can't go to work and don't get paid, and then they get told they don't get back pay. That, and they're not the ones causing the shutdown. Whichever party you want to blame for the shutdown, it's not them. We keep seeing these confrontations over the budget and spending, and this is part of where Washington is right now. It's very polarized up there. The parties are more in their bases than they used to be. There's not as much of a squishy center to make the deals. And politics now is a lot more performative than it used to be. A lot more, I'm going to play for social media and the cameras. I've got these voters who expect me to act a certain way. A lot of discussion in circles on the left about one reason the Democrats are pursuing a shutdown is that their base on the left of center liberals expect them to fight. They want to see a fight. And of course, Donald Trump's whole ethos, his rise was, I'm going to fight the swamp, the elites, the people who are messing you over. And so we're in a very polarized period, and so how this is supposed to work is Congress is supposed to pass the outlines of a budget, and then they're supposed to pass individual appropriations bills. The House and Senate Appropriations Committees actually up until September were working those bills. The Senate committee, both the Senate and the House committee had passed several of them out of committee. But what happens now is they just dump everything into a resolution that says essentially, with some exceptions, we're going to continue to fund the government at the same level and for short term. And then they just are not there where they're passing a budget. And there's, I think, a good deal of frustration with that. And of course, Democrats blame Republicans, Republicans blame Democrats. And, really, being an old person, I want to blame that darn MTV, right? I do think social media has something to do with it. There's a lot of discussion amongst people who watch social media, social scientists, that the problem with social media is that it's all keyed to outrage, that the algorithms feed you stuff that make you mad because that gets your attention. And so, for example, the USDA puts something up on its website. It can't say, the Census Bureau did, that with this site is not operational because of the shutdown. No, it's like this site is not operational because of the radical Democratic shutdown, or radical Democrat shutdown, something like that. That kind of rhetoric which is all over the place. And so there doesn't seem to be a clear path forward at this point. So what might be different about this one is that in previous shutdowns, everybody understood that it was kind of a short-term game, and that eventually something would happen and people would come back to the table because frustrations out here would get so high. But they seem to be pretty dug in on both sides. I think the Democrats are fighting for funding for health care, and they think that's pretty important. I think the Republicans want to preserve what they've passed in the, I guess it's got a new name now, but the legislation formerly known as the Big Beautiful Bill. They had a lot of policy in there that they naturally want to preserved. Maybe they'll do like a glyph like Prince did. You know, he had a little symbol when he was the artist formerly known as Prince. But anyway, the point is they're just at loggerheads, and we're with a Congress that's very polarized, and the parties are very united generally in being polarized, especially when it comes with dealing with each other. So.
All right, John, thank you so much. Coming up after the break, the latest on the fight over gender markers in Kansas. The Attorney General urging lawmakers to take action. What he's saying now in an exclusive interview this morning.
And then later on, Texas Republicans switched up congressional lines to potentially tilt power in their favor. Will it hold up in court, though, and what the outcome could mean for other maps across the country? We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
At the Sweet Tea, every scoop is homemade and crafted with love. Flavors that bring back memories, and new ones you'll never forget. Come find your favorite today. Crafted for our community, powered by service. Proudly veteran owned.
Ayo's Tasty Pralines, bringing the South to your mouth.
Now at Hy-Vee.
Visit AyoNolaPralineCandy.com to see where to catch your praline today.
Spend less for the shrimp you crave with the new Ultimate Spend Less Shrimp.
Ultimate Spend Less Shrimp? That sounds just like
garlic shrimp scampi, shrimp linguine Alfredo, and popcorn shrimp on one plate for just $15.99.
There's nothing less about that.
That's real happiness, only at Red Lobster.
Chipotle just dropped Build Your Own Chipotle.
Let's go! A mini Chipotle experience at home.
It feeds 4 to 6 people.
We have a lot of food here.
Lots of protein, rice and beans.
Everybody can make whatever they want, and there's plenty to go around.
Absolute game changer.
Hi, I'm Evan with Noller Ford. I'm here with the F-150 pickup, that #1 selling half-ton in America. This beauty offers the XLT Black Appearance Package Plus, so you get the upgraded 20-inch gloss black wheels, up to 13,500 pounds of towing, available in a 2.7, a 3.5 hybrid if you like better gas mileage, or a 5.0 V8. Come on down to Noller Ford. For a limited time only, we have better than employee pricing for all, and we have a great selection of new F-150s like this one right here. Come down and see us.
If you have a crack like this, well, you have a problem. Today I'm learning how a cracked wall might mean your foundation is sinking.
It always points towards the area where it's sinking. For example, this corner here, we're down almost a full inch of drop.
Right, so that's going down and that's causing the crack.
Correct. And then this door, they don't even use that door anymore. It cannot open.
Schedule a free inspection with Foundation Recovery Systems, a groundworks company. 27 News, working for you.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. Turning now to the court fight over gender markers on driver's licenses in Kansas. A court clearing the way for the state to make those changes.
The Attorney General is firing back, and this morning in an exclusive interview, we're hearing more about his push to call for a special session. Inside Kansas Politics, Capitol Bureau reporter Braden Day joins us now with the latest updates. Braden?
Yeah, that special session started off as a push for redistricting, but Kobach is trying to tack on an issue he says is even more urgent, gender markers. And today, we talked about just how soon he wants to get that done. Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach is urging lawmakers to take action now after a court agreed to let transgender Kansans change the gender marker on their driver's licenses.
You'll have driver's licenses that were improperly issued, may have to be recalled. It just causes more confusion.
It's the first time in more than 2 years that Kansans can make the change. Kobach, along with Republican leaders, are urgently trying to change state law before next year to stop this from taking effect.
That's why we're asking the legislature, if they're coming into session anyway, to possibly draw a new district map. This is something that I think is actually more important, and that is making sure that our law stays consistent.
Democrats argue the gender marker change will cause less confusion for law enforcement because the gender on Kansans' ID will match the gender they present as. But Kobach disagrees.
It's not a canvas for somebody to paint whatever reality they want to paint on it. It's a state document, and the state said very clearly in 2023, the legislature said, yeah, we want biological sex on the driver's licenses. And as Attorney General, it's just my job to ensure that the law is enforced as it was intended.
Currently, House Speaker Daniel Hawkins is distributing a letter to lawmakers, encouraging them to call a special session to address the issue. Right now, lawmakers are aiming for a special session sometime this fall. Our Capitol Bureau reached out to a spokeswoman for the Senate President's office today. She says a petition could be circulating starting mid-October. Working for you in the studio, I'm Braden Day.
All right, Braden, thank you so much. And we're bringing back John Hanna now. And John, This is something that, you know, is a bigger issue. We're talking about gender markers and taking care of redistricting all in one session. How could that play out in terms of timing, resources, and also political buy-in to get this done? But also you can touch on briefly just exactly what the Attorney General is trying to change in Kansas law.
Well, Kansas law, this was what was known as Senate Bill 180. They gave it the title of the Women's Bill of Rights. Actually, what it did was it ended the state's legal recognition for transgender people's gender identities. It defined male and female as based on a person's reproductive system at birth, I believe is the language. And it does not mention driver's licenses at all, but it was not hard for him to argue that the state wasn't supposed to be changing those driver's licenses to reflect gender identities because, of course, if you are transgender rights folks say identified male at birth, then you're male forever. Whatever you do, whatever surgery you have, whatever you wear, whatever name you use, you're male as far as the law is concerned, and therefore, arguably, your driver's license should say male. That would be his argument. Law doesn't say that. It was also supposed to be a bathroom bill. It doesn't really talk about bathrooms enforcing who gets to go into what bathroom, although it does say that women have a right to their own spaces. So what the Attorney General wants to do is change the law so that you explicitly can't change. It's actually the sex marker on your driver's license. He wants to make sure that you can't change that based on gender identity, transitioning, social transitioning, medical transitioning. He wants it to be based on what the law says your biological sex is based on. It is, I get the impression that they're planning a fairly simple, straightforward fix. From talking to Republicans, most of them probably, large number of them probably favor that. After all, they did back this law. So that's fairly straightforward. Redistricting is probably going to be more complicated. So I would expect some serious debate about the driver's license thing, but I would think the thing that would take more time would be redistricting. Right. Because there are some Republicans who are a little wary of even doing this. So we'll see.
Okay, John, thank you so much.
John, thank you so much. Well, when we come back, we're going to have the very latest on an ongoing lawsuit over Kansas abortion laws.
And how a court fight over congressional maps in Texas could impact what we see here in Kansas. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Shop local, dine local, and love local at Fairlawn Plaza.
Enhance your natural beauty. Keep your car sparkling, your barbecue sizzling, and your footwear refreshed. Fashion for work and play.
Dive into a new artistic pursuit.
Indoor and outdoor events that support the community.
Explore exciting new spots for meals and snacks. You'll find it all at Fairlawn Plaza.
Crown Volkswagen, part of your everyday, getting you where you need to go, no matter where life takes you. Join the Crown family and what sets us apart from the rest.
The 2025 Tiguan is here. 2.9% APR or get a $1,550 customer bonus. Own or lease a Honda, get a $2,000 conquest bonus. See dealer for details. 1.9% APR or a $3,500 customer bonus on Atlas 2025 models. Crown Volkswagen. Visit crownmotorsvw.com.
In our journey of 50 years, we've learned the true meaning of togetherness. A marriage becomes more than a union, it becomes a home. Amid life's twists and turns, there's a comfort in knowing your person is right there beside you. Here at McCright Plaza, we do have a commitment to couples. I think probably because we have been a couple for 50 years, over 50 years, and how important that is to be together and allow others to be together once they move to our community.
The people that I represent have had serious injuries or deaths in the family.
Being able to be there for someone and have that feeling of providing for them.
Being able to help them through that process and relieve some of the stress that comes from that kind of uncertainty.
Finding the truth for my clients and solving their problems.
I became a lawyer to make a difference in people's lives and getting my clients there and getting them compensation and letting them know that there's somebody there fighting for them. It's really rewarding.
Well, Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. Kansas abortion laws are back in the spotlight. Abortion providers challenging the state and continuing their fight this week.
Yeah, they're challenging the state's Women's Right to Know Act. Just a quick recap. This law passed back in 2023 and lawmakers made some changes in 2024. It's an informed consent law. Supporters saying that women have the right to know what they're getting into before they get an abortion. But opponents argue it discourages women from getting an abortion and makes it harder to do so.
Here's just some of the items that they're taking issue with. Now, this law requires providers to tell patients that medication abortion providers, or medication abortions that is, can be reversed, even though that's been medically disputed. It also requires providers to ask patients why they're getting an abortion. There would be a mandatory 24-hour waiting period to get the procedure, and patients must be given the chance to see an ultrasound and listen to the heartbeat of their baby. Now, we spoke with an attorney who is representing abortion providers.
I think that the most powerful message comes from Kansas voters, and they have resoundingly rejected the legislature's attempt to take away the right to abortion, and yet the legislature continues to waste its resources on passing these medically unnecessary restrictions that interfere with care.
That trial wraps up October 17th. Back now with John Hannon. John, based on what's going on in this one in the courtroom, how do you see this playing out?
Well, it's possible the judge has already issued a temporary injunction on most of these requirements in state law. It's highly possible that he'll issue a permanent injunction preventing the state from enforcing the law. Then the state will appeal, and it will probably eventually go to the Kansas Supreme Court for a ruling on whether these laws are in accord with the state constitution.
And John, I did take a look at some of your reporting right now. The Missouri Attorney General trying to get patient records from abortion providers, that's what they're saying, to investigate complaints about noncompliance with state laws, correct?
Yes, they're trying to show that the laws that they have on the books that the providers want to overturn have some beneficial effect for patients. And to do that, they think they need evidence that there have been problems at the Planned Parenthood clinics in Kansas City, Missouri, and St. Louis.
And do you see similar tactics possibly being used here in Kansas?
Well, actually, there were similar tactics about 25 years ago. The Attorney General managed to get what was known as an inquisition going and was subpoenaing records, and it ended up in a huge, long-running legal fight. Lots of accusations of misconduct lodged at the Attorney General, Phil Klein. He was a Republican. He lost his race for re-election. And eventually they suspended his law license indefinitely. Now, he fought that and said it was unjust, but he hasn't gotten it back yet. I mean, he is doing legal things in other states. He's not barred from doing that. But so yes, there is actually a history here, and if an attorney general tries that again, it will be, as it is in Missouri, extensively litigated.
All right, John, thank you so much. Up next, an update on Texas's redistricting battle and how a court case there could have a ripple effect across the country.
We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Attention women veterans. Do you want free help applying for VA healthcare and veterans benefits you earned? The Kansas Office of Veteran Services has women representatives on site ready to assist you. Help is just a click away. Contact the Kansas Office of Veteran Services.
I'm looking for some grass seed, but I can never figure out which type to buy.
You can pick your grass seed out of a field instead of off a shelf.
You can do that?
Let me take you to our plots.
At Premier Farm and Home, each problem we help you solve, you'll gain confidence and find that no one can take care of your lawn like you can.
27 News, honoring veterans through Veteran Salute.
We're proud to honor our veterans for their service to our country.
And we would love to share their stories. Please nominate a veteran at KSNT.com.
Be sure to watch 27 News Wednesdays at 10 p.m. as Devon James Injury Lawyers and 27 News honor our veterans with a Veteran Salute. Veteran Salute, sponsored by Devon James Injury Lawyers. If you know an outstanding student athlete who deserves to be recognized, nominate them for Scholar Athlete of the Week at KSNT.com. Sponsored by Kansas 811 and Briggs Auto Group.
Northeast Kansas, this is big. Briggs Subaru just unleashed 0% financing for 72 months on all in-stock Subaru Outbacks. That's 6 years, 0 interest on the SUV built for adventure and trusted for the long haul. 0 interest, no additional fees, no games, no gimmicks, just legendary Subaru reliability at unbeatable savings. Rush to Briggs Subaru in Topeka today before they're gone.
Hey!
Look what's going on at Briggs Auto.
Attention women veterans. Do you want free help applying for VA healthcare and veterans benefits you earned? The Kansas Office of Veterans Services has women representatives on site ready to assist you. Help is just a click away. Contact the Kansas Office of Veterans Services.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. And finally this morning, Texas maps are being put to the test. We're back now with John Hanna. John, how could what's happening in Texas, if they redraw the lines is successful, how does this impact Kansas?
Well, the main argument against the Texas map in court right now is that it violates both the U.S. Constitution and the Voting Rights Act. They claim that this is a racial gerrymander, that it hurts minority voters, particularly Hispanic and black voters. There are not enough Hispanic majority and black majority, or what they call coalition districts, different groups of minorities together forming a majority. And so their argument is whatever the Texas legislature says about its motive, it's a racial gerrymander. In this case, there's also a case in Louisiana involving congressional districts there, and the future enforcement of the Voting Rights Act hinges on these cases and what the U.S. Supreme Court does. And depending on what the court does, it could make it a lot harder to pursue both those claims and other claims when you want to challenge a congressional map. Now, what's interesting in Texas is all of the Republicans who worked on this map said, no, this is all about helping Republicans. This is purely partisan. And of course, the reason you would make that argument is that the U.S. Supreme Court says partisan gerrymandering is not an issue for the federal courts to decide. It's beyond the reach of the federal courts because it's a political question. And of course, that is what gives the Kansas legislature the seeming legal authority, they think, to go ahead and redraw the lines, basically to try to get rid of Sharice Davids, the only Democrat in the congressional delegation. It's a purely partisan motive, and that's what Donald Trump seemingly wants. But again, it's partisan gerrymandering, and the issue is when does something that looks partisan become a racial gerrymandering that impacts the voting rights of minority communities, and specifically their ability to choose the candidate of their choice as a group if, and this is an if they're a cohesive voting group. In other words, if most black voters or most Hispanic voters tend to vote for the same candidates, then you have to consider whether they have an opportunity to pick the candidate they want. And that makes drawing lines harder in some ways. And it also can make drawing competitive districts harder. If a group leans a certain way, minority voters lean Democratic, you draw a district to help them pick the candidate of their choice, it can tend to be a heavily Democratic district. And that has implications for other districts in your state. In a state like Texas, that means you might have somewhere else, you might not have as Democratic a district or as many Democratic districts. So it's a complicated puzzle, and this might help us sort out what the rules for redistricting are, particularly when it comes to race. Now, the last redistricting in 2022, the critics of the map tried to make a racial gerrymandering case. The problem is that Kansas has no majority minority districts. So it's a much, much harder case to make. And then, of course, one thing is, for the past 40 years, you've not actually had to show that the actual intent was to racially gerrymander. You just had to show that that was the net effect. And that's something the U.S. Supreme Court could revisit. And if they do, that could make these claims a lot harder to prove as well.
All right, John, thank you so much. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. If you want to keep up to date on all things Kansas politics, then follow us on social media. Follow us on X at NKS Politics, and on Facebook, just search Inside Kansas Politics.
We're also going to post the full video on YouTube. Just search KSNT News and check out Inside Kansas Politics on KSNT.com for past episodes. If you have a story that you think we should cover, let us know. You can email us at ikp@ksnt.com.
We'll see you right here, same time, same place. Have a good day.